Just need to vent. As title says, I've been homeless for 3 months. My father lives about an hour away from the Library Park Taco Bell Dunkin' Donuts where I spend time. He lives with his wife. They have a 2-floor house. His wife's son and his wife live on the 2nd floor. They have a fully finished basement. When I was about to become homeless, I asked to stay there for a few months so I could get back on my feet. Answer was absolutely not. What kind of sadistic fucking behavior is this? 2 days ago, it was 15 degrees Fahrenheit outside. He hasn't responded to my phone calls for 2 months or so, but calls me to wish me Merry Christmas. Thanks for reading. I guess Merry Christmas to you all. So, my boyfriend has this friend who is married. Said wife has 45,000 plus followers on TikTok and 17 followers on Instagram. Yup, you read that right. 17. She has been getting hate comments on her TikTok account and said that she thinks I'm making fake accounts to cyberbully her. The wife argues that both TikTok and Instagram provide her with special tools since she's an influencer, and she can see stuff on people pages that regular non-influencer people can't see. I suppose these special tools consist of allowing her to see the account's private information. Another argument is that she was able to use her very special influencer tools to link the TikTok pages and an Instagram account, and she's 100% it's me. My boyfriend was upset because she really made her husband and my boyfriend believe that such tools exist. After talking to my boyfriend, I explained to him that she's not being honest with her husband, and she's just trying to pin it on me, saying, I'm hating on her when I don't even know her at all. She's absolutely psychotic, and I know that no such tools exist. But seriously, guys, I have no reason to hate on her or anyone else. I was caught so off guard with these allegations, knowing she's not being honest. IDK. I just wanted to vent here because seriously, WTF. So I won't get too much into the sexual details, but essentially we were hooking up, getting through the bases just fine, but when we reached intercourse, she seemed slightly upset. I asked her if she was okay, and she said yes. Are you sure? Yes, I'm fine. So I continued. A short while later, she seemed even more upset, and I asked her, Are you even enjoying this? And she responds, Does it even matter? I thought WTF and got off her. She got out of my room in a hurry and may have even started crying on the way out. She went to the police and our university Title IX. Only the university reached out to me, and I decided to agree to a private in-person talk with her somewhere on campus. I agreed because I felt bad for her and wanted her to feel a sense of closure. The police never contacted me. The reason probably being because she told them the truth about the events. And even if I corroborated every detail of her version of the events, it still wouldn't qualify as rape or sexual assault. So there was no point in getting my version. I guarantee when the cops heard her version, they thought, this doesn't even sound like rape. Thing is, I do believe she genuinely thinks it was rape. She's claimed she's been raped before. I'm not sure if it was violent or what, but she gave me the impression that she worried I would get violent if she turned me down. She later told me that she was so traumatized by the event that she's going to be too scared to say no to a man in the future. I'm thinking that's literally why you felt raped. It's like she wants to be a victim. Does she expect men to be mind readers? Perhaps she was raped before and he got violent when she said no. It was the weirdest sexual encounter I've had. And I've had plenty. Edit. Not sure if this is the right subreddit for this. This incident occurred 5 years ago in 2019. I drove into a street without looking, and I went right in front of a car, almost causing a terrible accident. The car I went in front of slammed on the brakes and leaned on the horn at me, but miraculously, no accident occurred. Later on, as I was driving down the street, I turned to look back at the car I went in front of, and the driver was a man who had the most inconceivably and heartbreakingly sad expression on his face. Such an expression would only be found on the face of a person who had suffered a terrible tragedy. I then recognized him as a man who once spoke at an assembly at my high school, telling the story of how his son was killed by a drunk driver. Shortly after this, his car pulled up next to mine, and I turned around to look at the man directly in his face. When I looked at him, he looked back at me with a look of incredibly deep disgust and loathing, like I was the most disgusting thing he had ever laid eyes on. In all life, I had never had anyone look at me that way before. Nevertheless, I continued to stare directly in his eyes intensely for a long time, and his expression of loathing eventually turned into an expression of pain and sadness. I then saw that he had his family in the car with him. He then drove past me, and a little later on after this, he stuck his arm out of his car window and gave me the middle finger. I could tell that there was immense hatred behind that gesture. Sometime after this, I looked on this man's Facebook page, and I found there many posts and comments made by the man talking about how much he despises drunk, reckless drivers. He made comments saying that drunk, reckless drivers should be killed, and that they should be killed in the most brutal ways possible, such as being dragged to death up and down the expressway. I would imagine that he feels that I deserve to be brutally killed in such a manner, and that he would like to have the privilege of brutally killing me himself. Even though it has been many years now since this incident occurred, it still doesn't sit well with me that there is someone out there who truly feels such an extreme loathing for me, who hates me so much that he would brutally kill me if he ever had the chance. Although it has been a long time, I'm sure that the man has not forgotten that incident, and that he still remembers it with perfect clarity. I'm also sure that he despises just as deeply now as he did then. I also know that many people would agree with him that I should be brutally and savagely killed for what I did, and that also bothers me. What do you think? Do I deserve to be brutally killed for what I did? Am I a worthless piece of so who deserves to be dragged to death up and down the expressway? My sister, 60, convinced my mom and daughter to plan around me this Christmas, going to the ballet, teas, fancy dinners, and shows. I've come into town and have been given a 4-hour window to see my own family. Why? Because tickets were purchased. And I didn't plan ahead. I'm blown away. My sister had always wanted my children as her own. She has none. She's stated that over and over, and I've kept my distance. Moved to a different city. I've paid for my daughter's college, paid for her wedding, traveled 12 hours to see my mom on Thanksgiving, travel halfway around the country to help my daughter with a medical emergency. This year alone. I rented an Airbnb to be in a city that I don't live in, to see my family. I've done nothing wrong. When I asked why, I was told I need to get my medication checked and I'm going through menopause. Perhaps that is true, but I have many living friends who would have talked to me if I was bad off. Plus, it's been a successful year business-wise. Yep, I'm tired and I need a rest, but I'm not so mentally ill that I should be thrown away. Do you tough? I read in psychology journals about why my sister actively excludes me. She has for years, but my own daughter and mom? I begged them not to exclude me. I'm far from perfect. I get it. My daughter has never thanked me for college or the wedding. I guess I should wake up and realize I created a user. I asked to see my daughter when I delivered her gifts and my mom's. She said we could maybe get together after the new year. Bummer Christmas. Alone. In a city I don't live in. My sister broke me. I guess my daughter and mom did too. Before I say anything, they're not dead, nor am I into voodoo. I've 22 million been doing reflection and waking up to my social surroundings, and I've been realizing how one-sided all my friendships have been. The friend circle I've had over the past few years has taken more than it has given. Any hangout I was a part of, I had to plan. And it was a toss-up who was going to show up. Any tough situation someone was in, breakups, death of family, etc., I was there for them. I checked in on them every day. But when it was my turn, it felt like I had to beg people to stay. My phone is a paperweight full of messaging and social apps my friends use, but I'm always having to message first to no avail. I kept these people close to my heart, and I'm hurt by this. I've tried to go meet new people, but no one sticks. And I can't seem to truly heal. I'm tired of spending nights, weekends, and time off with no plans or people to do things with. I'm tired of opening social media on nights they said they were busy and seeing them at concerts and activities I wanted to do with them. And I'm tired of being lied to. Having friends as an adult is tough, but I would kill for one true friend. Honestly, I was forced to see a therapist by my parents and my teachers. It wasn't really BCOs I did something bad or I had problems. I just really didn't care about anything and would just mind my own business. Since I was really young, they thought that it was abnormal. So here I am meeting a therapist while having no problems. It honestly irritated me a shit ton since I was a lazy boy, and I didn't want to travel a long distance just to speak to some random person about problems which I didn't even have at the first place. Since I was the same every day, having minimal emotions on my face, not making eye contact, not really paying attention and peeking about my plan and boring life when asked about it, my therapist thought she couldn't fix to help me. I think she finally gave up when she called my mom inside the room and told her that she, the therapist, couldn't help someone like me. My mom, not giving up, decided to send me to the school counselor, which was probably worse. I think it was at this point that I realized that if I was myself, I simply wouldn't be accepted into society. After a few sessions with the school counselor, I started to fake my emotions, made faces, started socializing, and finally started talking to my parents. Truly, I tell you, a sadistic piece of shit like me cannot be myself and will have to constantly be someone else. It's BCOS of these incidents and many faked emotions that I realized I didn't know who I am. I'm just a fake person made up of many faces with no real motive. On the plus side, I have a good poker face due to faking emotions. Well, I guess that's something to be proud of. My sister mailed us our gifts from Amazon since she's living in a different state. So I wrapped all the gifts except my own, and my brother wrapped the ones for me. A couple of weeks ago, I ordered a huge dildo with some other shit to put in a box and a friend opened during Secret Santa. After wrapping my gift, my brother walked up to me and said, "Man, sister grew an insane sense of humor while she's been gone," along with a comment on the weird shape with him, unsure how to wrap it. I didn't think anything of it until Christmas Eve night, when I started wondering when that thing was gonna come. I looked back on the conversation and horrified, and I opened the huge box that said, "From sister?" Emphasis on the question mark. I opened this huge gift box to find an 8-inch dildo with vibrator accompanied. I sat in silence staring at the box, not sure what to do. Still don't know. Gonna hope he doesn't say anything, and if he does, I will say I didn't want to open that in front of my dad and my sister told me ahead of time. Definitely gonna be thinking about this one for years to come. So 16F, has had a best friend for the past 5 years. Let's call her Jay. So Jay was my team member at first, but later on we, along with our families, became best friends. Until a few months ago, everything was going good, but nay, I started feeling a little irritated by her. Maybe it was because we were always together, like always. We went to the same school, same tuition afterwards, and played for the same team. We would even hang out together with our other friends together after school sometimes, and that I was sick of her constantly being around me. But I think that it's the way she talks to me. Jay was a younger child, and she was always pampered by her parents. She would get anything that she would ask for, and this has led to her behaving very childish, even in front of others. She is very stubborn. She would always find ways for me to feel at fault. I am very much an extrovert, but recently I've had trouble making friends. I had a limited amount of friends. Jay, on the other hand, had people lining up to be her friend. This has been going on for about 2 years now. Sometimes I think that that's when the problem started. She got way and above her head that she finally got something that I had. She was told by everyone that she was the best goalkeeper of your team, even by other teams. Nowadays, it's like she doesn't even try to play well. If she can't stop a goal, she would always find a way to blame others. She is rude. Like one day, on a bus, she was sitting next to a mutual friend. Later on our way back home, I wanted to sit with our friend as we had a lot to talk about. Jay just came in and rudely asked me to move. I moved to another seat. I wonder if she would have been in my place. She would have just shouted at me and told me to find somewhere else. Sometimes when we are out with friends, and I made a joke on her, she would just try to act like it's not a big deal and make me feel low. But when she made a joke on me, she would be hyping everyone to laugh at me. That also made me feel very low for some reason. On the other hand, her mother would not say anything to her, which is the most annoying thing ever. I know that my reasons may not seem valid, but there is this feeling that I just can't shake off. I had this same feeling when she went behind my back and told my crush that I liked him when I was not planning on telling him. She did that because we had a flight. This was spread all over the school and resulted in him ghosting me for months. He was a very good friend of mine, and it took a very long time for us to be on good terms again. I could have lost a good friend just because she was mad at me for a stupid reason. She made me feel ashamed and worthless. But now, when my 10th grade ends, I would be shifting to another school, another tuition, and would only be going to practice during the time of tournaments and focusing on my studies. This way, I hope that we both don't get to meet. I don't have the heart to say anything to her and break our friendship. Even our parents are involved. Give me advice to survive the next 2 months with her.